And hello again, Warriors fans. Welcome back. It is time for our second football preview, our week 2, as it were, preview, as the Warriors get ready for the home opener on Saturday afternoon against Buena Vista, a first-time opponent, the Warriors and the Beavers matching up, and joined as always by the head coach, Eric Treske. We'll talk about Saturday. We'll talk about the matchup with Buena Vista for the first time. Let's go back to last Saturday, 21-7 Lake Forest. That game, the result really in doubt until last couple of minutes of the fourth quarter, in all honesty. What was your initial takeaways or your biggest takeaways from week 1?
I think on a positive note, was really proud of our effort. I was proud of our sideline. I felt like everybody stayed engaged no matter what the role was, which is such a big part of having a strong culture, weathering a season.
And it's an overlooked part too, I imagine.
Yeah, it's really hard to see, right? Unless you're there, unless you feel it, or you know what I mean? It's hard for, I think, the fan to see that. So that was great to see. I loved the way our defense flew around and I think created a little bit of chaos. I'm sure we'll talk more about that. And there were some bright spots offensively. We need to continue to be more consistent. But yeah, there was a lot that we can build upon for sure.
Disappointment, obviously, following a loss. But in the last couple of days, obviously in the week now, since that game, getting ready for Buena Vista, talk about what you've seen and heard primarily from your guys. Maybe even on the bus back, if there was something there to be picked up.
I think the biggest thing is guys aren't wavering. You know, it's real easy. We've played Lake Forest is a good program. We've gone in, you know, with strong expectations, and it can be real easy, you know, when you don't have the outcome you're looking for, to already start kind of looking back at maybe prior mistakes or years that you were hoping you did better. Here we go, and there's none of that. We've had a phenomenal week of training in the weight room. Practice has been locked in. Our seniors are doing a great job leading. The guys are driven and ready.
One of the newcomers on this team this year is somebody who led you in carries with 12 last Saturday at Lake Forest. That's Liam Hygis, freshman from Appleton. And I know you and the entire staff are really high on the potential of this young man.
Yeah, Liam is an incredibly versatile player. Probably the hardest thing with Liam was figuring out where we wanted to play him.
It's a good problem to have.
It's a great problem. He's got a lot of skill sets. In high school, he was a dual threat Q and did a great job in that role, and was also a really, really good defensive player. And so he started camp on that side of the ball, on the defensive side of things, and quite honestly was going to play for us there. But we felt like we needed a little bit more at the running back spot, and he's fit in very quickly and very nicely. So he's going to have a great career here.
I'm curious, because you hear those stories throughout all of college football where especially a newcomer or a freshman comes in and they played this position in high school, but as the coaching staff gets to know them, maybe just in a couple of weeks of training camp, they go, no, we're going to put him on the other side of the ball. Take us behind the scenes. Like, how does that decision get made? How do those conversations unfold? Are you looking at everybody coming in going, well, maybe he could play another position? Is that something that is just decided during camp? Take us behind the curtain.
There's kind of a two-pronged approach. So first is the individual, right? And throughout the recruiting process, the evaluation process, we as a staff look at their film and say, hey, where do we see them fitting best within what we do? And so not everybody, I would say, is up for grabs, so to speak. But there's a handful of guys that you're like, man, he's talented in both areas. And it's really comes down to then the next thing is, what does our team need? Right, and so I think the approach going in with Liam, for example, was we felt like at the time going into camp, we weren't quite sure where our defensive backfield was. We had some guys that we were looking to replace from a year ago, and we had a pretty good group of running backs coming into camp, so we wanted to see kind of where they were at. And as camp shook out, it became apparent that the need was more on the offensive side than the defensive side.
Maybe this isn't the case this season, but have you ever had to convince somebody that this is in the best interest of you and the team, and maybe a little pushback? Not saying that happened to anybody this year, but over your coaching career?
I think sometimes, yeah, it's hard. There's the element of identity, right? A lot of these guys have played a position for a long, long time. I'll even use myself as an example. I was a quarterback growing up. I came here. I had some physical traits that were good, but I had no experience running a college-level offense. And other guys were more ready. And so Coach Miller, Coach Voss, I remember they approached me and they were like, hey, we like you at what you're doing, but we see a quicker and more immediate impact in this role. Is that something that you're willing to do? And at first it was like, are you serious? You know, I love playing. I want to compete. I know I can do it. And then you start to step back and say, okay, what does the team need? And maybe I can trust their evaluation. Yeah. So, yeah.
No, that's interesting. I suppose that, and again, that's a conversation that goes on in every team, every team all the time.
All the time. Yeah, especially at this level.
One of the things that you and your staff and the players do after every game, win or lose, doesn't matter, is award a Warrior of the Week, maybe tied to on-field performance, but I know just as valued as what is happening off the field and some of those intangibles. So, with that said, who did the team put up as the Warrior of the Week for Week 1?
Yeah, so Warrior of the Week is an award that's meant to reflect our culture, right? John 15:13, our anchor verse, greater love has no one than this than to lay down one's life for one's friends. And so whether you played 80 snaps, played 2 snaps, or 0 snaps, there's guys on our team that are living that out. And this week, Colin Amick was definitely a guy that we thought stepped up in multiple roles, both offensively and special teams. Quite honestly, for his last 2+ years, he's going in his junior year now, but he's been a phenomenal teammate and a hard worker and someone that we really felt we wanted to recognize. So
excellent. All right, let's turn the page now with a matchup, as I've already said, but with Buena Vista. First time that the two programs will have ever met. Big picture, when you have a first-time opponent, what type of challenge does that present you and your staff in terms of gathering information so that you can process it and then present it to the team?
Yeah, you have a small sample size of info, which might not always be a bad thing. Sometimes if you have too much, you get really flooded with analytics and all those other things, and you miss what's most important, which is getting your guys prepared for their role. But yeah, BV's a well-coached football program. Coach Dickinson, this is his second season, and you can tell he's really trying to build a strong culture. He's trying to build something strong that I think they struggled for prior years before. And we got to be ready for anything. They're very creative schematically on both sides of the ball. Have a couple dynamic players on offense, and they also have got I think an active front on defense, and so we got to be prepared for that.
Yeah, for folks who'll be there or who will be following broadcasts, things like that, they have a senior quarterback, and then they have a running back, Iman Alanis, who was one of the top all-purpose yardage guys in the entire Division III ranks a season ago, and as he goes, oftentimes so goes the Beaver success.
Absolutely. Yep. If there was a key to the game for our defense, it's find ways to contain him and make other players beat us, and that'll be the test. I'm excited to see our guys answer it.
Tomorrow, or Saturday, depending when you're watching this, obviously, it's a 1 o'clock kickoff. It is also First Responders Day, so for folks who will be coming out, what will that entail? What will they see as we celebrate those people who do such great things for the community?
Yeah, so I think the first thing is just the recognition of so many people that truly do live out what we talked about, laying down your life for others, for our community. And so we're going to have quite a few people from the police department, both in Wauwatosa and several districts in Milwaukee. We've reached out to the Milwaukee Sheriff's Department as well. We also have a couple fire departments that'll be there on hand. I think Wauwatosa, they said it's like the Unit 53 truck is going to be there, so that'll be pretty cool. Maybe they'll honk the horn if we score or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's going to be a great time, and we'll have a reception tent, some pregame recognition. Just really want to celebrate those that serve us. So.
As we said, it'll be a 1 o'clock kickoff at Robbie Stadium. It is the home opener, by the way. All right, Coach, before we wrap this up, in keeping with tradition, we will have 5 questions for you.
Let's do it.
The first answer that comes to mind, don't overthink it. Do you have or have you had a nickname?
No, usually it's just my last name. It's just Treske. My wife has one for me, but that will not be shared on here.
Okay, that's for the off-air program.
Yes.
Would you rather walk on the moon or see, now everybody's thinking now. Would you rather walk on the moon or stroll on the ocean floor?
Ocean floor. Ocean floor. Unexplored. I think very underestimated how vast our ocean is. So yeah, ocean floor.
Tuna salad or chicken salad?
Chicken salad. Actually, neither. I'm going to be honest. Neither sound very appetizing, but yeah.
There was a little hesitation there. It defaulted. All right, fine, if we forced you. Number 4, the funniest person you know is?
Probably my brother. My brother Jordan is really quick-witted. He's funny. I got a lot of funny family. My wife's pretty funny. My son, and even my dad at times, although he's a little more corny like me. So,
Number 5, what holiday would you want to celebrate twice a year if you could?
Easter.
And your bonus question, and what we're going to do all season long with these weekly previews, because this is the 25th anniversary season of Warriors football, is we're going to tie your bonus question to something related to the historic nature of Warriors football over 2.5 decades. So this bonus question, tied to 25 years of football, is what is your favorite on-field football moment as a player, which you were here, and as a coach here?
Yeah, as a player, it was a moment I didn't have a lot to do with. I remember my freshman year, Ryan Elbrecht kicked a game-winning field goal. It was about...
So against Adrian?
Yes, Adrian Kyle. It was a big win. They're a good program.
Just snuck it over.
He was an unbelievable safety, could hit like nobody else. His kicking was a little more suspect. And so drilled this beautiful line drive, 38 yards. It was a really fun, thrilling victory, and definitely one I'll always remember. And I don't think I played much that day, but that was pretty cool. And then I'd say, as a coach, it has to be the 2014 Concordia, Wisconsin game. You know, I remember sitting in Coach Miller's office.
You were an assistant that year.
I was an assistant at that time. Yeah, I was not a head coach at that time, but I sat in Coach Miller's office as I was getting recruited, and one of the things I said is, I want to win a conference championship here with you. And I didn't know when that would be. That was on God's time. But to be able to experience that, to see the joy of the entire staff, and just, I mean, to build a program from scratch is so hard. And to see all the work, I was a strength conditioning coach with that group for that prior 2 years. And so I knew the sacrifice those kids had made and the resilience. We started that year 0-3 and then rattled off 7 straight. So, yeah, I will never forget that group and that day.
Those are great memories, and we'll share more memories as we roll through the whole season. All right, it'll be a Saturday 1 o'clock kickoff, the 25th year of Warriors football. If you're not going to be there, there will be broadcast at 12:30. That'll be the broadcast, which is pretty cool. You talked about Dennis Miller. He's back in the booth. We were able to coax Coach Miller from his nice spot there in the top row of the bleachers, where he still was attending all the games, and he'll be joining me in the booth to call Warriors football and all 5 home games on WLCsports.com. Very excited about that, and very excited about tomorrow. Thanks, Eric.
Thank you.
We'll see you at Robbie Stadium, or we'll catch you on the broadcast. Thanks for watching, everybody.